off, Russell Wayne, how are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm feeling good. It takes more. Apparently, it takes more. That's what they say.
More. I love it.
It does. Okay.
The mantra adopted by the Lions, it takes more. The rumors going around that this is what Dan Campbell is telling the players. It takes more. Yeah, it takes more when you're leading by 17 at halftime. It certainly takes more to get past a good team like the San Francisco 49ers, and it's going to be even harder this year just to get out of your own division. So that's the message that they're preaching. It takes more. I love the message, Russ. I know you love it. We're kind of adopting it here at the main event, right, at the Villain Squad. We're kind of, we changed our YouTube handle now to @Villain Squad on YouTube. Right.
We sure did. Yep.
You know why? Because it takes more. You got to do a little bit more. You got to go a little more and keep grinding and keep trying to improve every day, just like these Detroit Lions are doing. And they've totally done that in this draft. And I know we got Tim, the tool man, on today. So I want to ask him a question. I wanted to ask, what did you think about this draft, Tim?
I couldn't have picked it better. Russell knows that I talked all off season. If we didn't change anything on our defense, to me, we got to do something about that secondary. Our secondary is good enough to tackle after the catch, but that still moves the chains. We need shut down corners. I'll be darned at the first two. I couldn't be happier.
Mm-hmm. And we need corners specific, correct. And we need corners specifically that are good against the run and good up at the line of scrimmage. And Ennis Rakestraw, Terrion Arnold, both two of the tops in the country in that regard. And you add in Brian Branch, who's also a super tough nickel corner up at the line. They certainly got stronger there, Tim, and I appreciate that analysis. The Lions shored up the cornerback position, even though the world is on fire. And put it in the comments. Tell us what you think about these CBs. It's the off season, but there still seems to be a lot to talk about. I know that other shows are talking about the corners and the draft picks and all this and that. But listen, guys, you're looking at, like the tool man just said, this pass defense was ranked 27th in the league last year. And an overhaul, 2 free agents, maybe not L'Jarius Sneed free agent, but Carlton Davis, now the new CB1. I use a site called Our Lads, and they always post the projected depth chart like the day after the draft. And this year, they predicted that Carlton Davis would be the left corner, which is traditionally your CB1 if you have a right-handed quarterback, right? The left, he wants to throw to his good side down the left sideline, and that left corner is your starter. And they have Carlton Davis penciled in at number 1. That's probably not a big surprise, but what might be a surprise to you is that they have Terrion Arnold starting at the right cornerback position. The CB2 in his rookie year, going to start him out there. Why not? Carlton Davis is only good for another year, guys. He's a 1-year rental player. So Terrion Arnold penciled in at the number 2. And then they have Brian Branch. This is the starting lineup. So they're projecting the Lions run a 4-2-5. So 5 secondary players, 2 linebackers, which will be Anzalone and Campbell. And then 4 DBs, a nickel corner, 2 safeties, and 3 corners, right? So 4-2-5. And with Brian Branch as your starting nickel, that means Amik Robertson's not even starting. Okay. This shows what a great depth move this is. Brian Branch, one of the best nickel corners in the league, only 1 year removed from his rookie season. And you can ask anyone, they'll tell you that. So Amik's going to not even start. And then they have Ife Melifonwu starting at the strong safety position after the showing that he made last year, the last 6 games of the season down the stretch. 2 interceptions, 2 sacks, and just a hard nose. I think he earned that spot as well, so I like the site predicting that. And then, of course, Kirby Joseph at free safety. So that's your starting defense minus the D-line. These CBs that they drafted and brought in free agency, they shored up that deficiency, and it's going to make this defense a top 10 defense. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it right now. Let's see what we got in the comments. Our good friend Darcy says, "What's up, fellas?" Dave Eastman, hello. Thank you for being on the program. Oh, man, it takes more. One pride, that's our battle cry. Dan says they had bad luck in the 49ers game. True. It went off his face mask, but guess what? It went through his hands first. That's not luck. San Francisco didn't beat the Lions. Lions got too nervous and beat themselves. Definitely some truth to that. And what's our response to that, Dan? It takes more. Chad says, Jake Bates. God, I don't want to talk about Jake Bates anymore. Stop it with the Jake Bates, people, please. I know it's exciting. He kicked 60-yard field goal at the UFL. Man, it's the NFL, guys. It takes more than that. Dwayne says, I hope he can adjust outside doors of kicking them, but indoors he's good. I hope he can adjust outside doors. That's out of doors, outside doors of kicking them, but indoors he is good. Thank you, Dwayne. You're always spot on. Russell Wayne, what do you think about these corners depth chart that we're looking at projected so far without even going to the defensive line?
Oh man! But by the way, how does this SM58 sound? Does that sound
indestructible. Good? It's indestructible, my friend. It's the greatest microphone ever invented.
It's the greatest microphone ever. But
100%. I use a beta, but it's damn good.
Yeah, my voice is too tinty to have beta 58. But anyway, with the cornerback position, I love what they've done. They've completely overhauled it. I mean, really, the only guy that they have on the team that was on here from last year is Kendall Vildor. And I don't know. I mean, at this point, because they brought in Carlton Davis and Amik Robertson to start. And don't forget about Emmanuel Mosley. I mean, they brought him in just because he had an injury and you want to call him injury prone. It doesn't mean that he's not going to recover from it. He may play this year. And then they come in and they get Terrion Arnold in the first round, which is awesome. But I think the undersold one is Ennis Rakestraw, because I saw a bunch of mocks and stuff, and a lot of people probably would have been okay if they didn't use that third round pick to trade up, and they just took Ennis Rakestraw right there at pick 29. And I don't think anybody would have blinked an eye.
That's such
if
a
it
good
came down to it.
Absolutely right. Such a good take. That if we would have taken Rakestraw at 29, no one would have batted an eye at that. Probably.
No.
And everybody, because of the trust they have in Brad Holmes, would have said, oh, well, you know, obviously Brad knows that guy is going to be worth it because he was rated top.
And he was these guys are SEC guys, both of them, Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. And you're talking about the two best SEC corners that came out. Physical dudes. They've had to play against the best, fastest, bestest wide receivers in the nation. And that's, you could just tell the way we're going to be playing here in Detroit.
Right. And never say bestest again. All right, moving on. Let's look at the defensive line now. The projected starters, and this one's going to cause it's going to cause a stir. That Matthew Betts, there's a big stir about Matthew Betts. First, let's start on the other side, right? Aiden Hutchinson plays 98% of the snaps. Aiden Hutchinson is going to be the defensive end on one side, but that question mark on the other side, there's a lot of podcasters out there, a lot of people who think that Matthew Betts from the CFL is going to step into that starting role. That means he's going to beat out John Kaminsky, James Houston, and Marcus Davenport to get that starting role. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't see it. I realize the kid's got a great motor. We watched a lot of tape on him, me and Russ did. His first step is extraordinary. He has a great burst. But in the CFL, the wide receivers are also getting a running start. So, I mean, things are different. It's not the same, and the competition certainly isn't the same. I'm not sold on it for the same reason I'm not sold on Jake Bates. You got to see it. He did work out in training camp for the Bears last year, and he didn't make the team. Marcus Davenport is who our lads predicts will be the starting right defensive end. And I think it's rightly so, because when this guy's on the field, he's uber productive. He's only played in 66 games in his NFL career, but he has over 24 sacks. So when he's on the field, he's uber productive. So if you get a year like 2014 when he stayed healthy and he had 9.5 sacks, that's the Davenport that they're banking on getting. And that's why these early projections have him listed as the defensive end. He's been on the injured reserve list 6 years in a row. His entire NFL career, he's gone to the IR list. Okay. And if he gets hurt in training camp, then all of this means nothing. But if he stays healthy and on day one, he's healthy to play, he's going to be the starter. You take it to the bank right there. And that's what the site is predicting also. And then, of course, you've got DJ Reader in the middle and Aleem McNeil in the middle to round out the front four as starters, and plenty of depth behind them. If one of these guys does emerge on the defensive end as the star, the guy that's going to be on the other end, if one of these guys emerges, then it's going to be the player that's more versatile sitting on the bench that's going to be able to keep his job, because he'll be able to move in and play multiple positions. This regime has already shown how much they value positional versatility. This is a big thing for these guys, right? So I think we're going to love what we see. Russ, we'll get your opinion before we go to these comments about the D-line.
They made, it takes more. There you go. So what it takes more. I love the upgrades that they made. The upgrades that they made were so subtle, but yet so good. You already had a top 5 rush defense. Some might argue that you're in the top 3 in the rush defense. And that's with Aleem McNeil in the middle. And you're talking like Benito Jones and Isaiah Buggs. You bring in a guy like DJ Reader. This dude is, you want to talk about solid at the point of attack. When he takes on double teams, he's a good anchor. He can actually take them on. And he talked about playing the position and, putting guys like Aiden Hutchinson in better positions to make sacks. He closing down those lanes and making sure that they can't escape in the normal spots that they're normally escaping in. And then here we go with the second year of Broderick Martin. I'm excited. They had him for an entire season, just sitting on the practice squad, developing with the long arms. I think it's going to, they're getting these physical freaks, kind of like Manu. And you look like you're chomping at the bit. You like this defensive line, Tim?
I liked it before.
Get right in there.
I liked the D-line before. I thought if we had a good D-line, and toward the last half of the season, we really didn't have anybody a run game against us. We were very good as far as that. Our D-line was good. I think our Achilles heel to the whole defense was absolutely our secondary, the corners that we were. I think that's the missing piece of the puzzle.
Well, without getting too in depth about the nuances of playing defensive tackle, I will tell you that the deficiencies, we were tough against the run, but playing defensive tackle, there's so much more to it about how you can manipulate the line and make other players better around you by eating up space, not worrying about making a tackle, but how much space you eat up and how you're blocking off lanes and opening lanes for other players. And this guy's the best in the business when it comes to that part of the game. He might not have all the sacks you see from some interiors like Aaron Donald, right? But what he does is make Trey Hendrickson a Pro Bowler. What he does, he makes Jesse Bates a Pro Bowler because of the things he does and the techniques that he uses on the defensive line. And when you look at his character, look at Matthew Betts, you look at Aleem McNeil, these guys, Broderick Martin, he wants to be a teacher. He wants to show these guys. He's said it many times so far since he's been a Lion. I can't wait to, help these guys. And with that attitude, he was a LSU defensive tackle, and we drafted Mekhi Wingo, an LSU defensive tackle. And so you see this chemistry and this things that this team believes in, this regime believes in, of making these connections. You can see it all over this team with the Bama connections. There's even Florida Gator connections on this team. So chemistry and a locker room that gets along and is all unified. That's what they're building here, and it's just freaking amazing. Let's look at these comments. Out of Focus says going to be some growing pains to start the year at cornerback for sure. One of the deepest learning curves positionally is at corner in the NFL. So that's true.
Can I comment on that? Because
sure.
Well, last last week when we were playing all those football. I wanted to finish this right here on the Matthew Betts thing. Wanted to kind of close this one out on, but I don't mind if you like Matthew Betts. I think that was a really, really good pickup. I like the fact that Brad Holmes is going out and he is going and using every way possible to try to make the team better, right? And Matthew Betts, I mean, before we're thinking about him being a Pro Bowler and having 25 sacks, let's get him on the roster first.
He's there. He's signed. He's gonna be on a practice squad at least.
Well, that's what I mean. Let's let him, because they're big about earning their positions, right? And they got a lot of guys in that spot where you got Kaminsky, you got Josh Pascal, you got James Houston, you got, now you got Davenport trying to eat in that spot. It's like there's a lot of mouth to feed here, and musical chairs are going to go dun, 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 and eventually it's going to stop, and there's not going to be enough chairs for these guys.
Right. And if you're Matthew Betts, you're thinking, well, Davenport's been on the IR every year of his career. I'll just spend the first couple of weeks on the practice squad, and then when he gets a sprained toenail, I'll be able to maybe get some playing time. But yeah, even if he makes the practice squad, he's going to be a good guy to have on the team. So let's look at these comments now. Fred says, "Good evening. It's a great day to be a Lion. So glad to see you, Fred." Chad says, "If Davenport is healthy, he is the starter." I see what you did there. Don says, Don,
we're got a crush on Sarah.
Give Betts a chance. He says, give Betts a chance. He's a little Malcolm Rodriguez. Everybody was laughing at him. Where's Rodrigo now? Playing special teams at fullback. That's where Rodrigo is now, Dan, but I appreciate the comment. Chad, who is the likely replacement if Reeder or McNeil go down? Could that be Broderick Martin? Could that be someone, Makai Wingo? Right? Those are the guys backing him up. Who else we got on that D-line, Russ, that Pascal can play inside?
I mean, they're all, back and forth guys. I mean, this Wingo guy, you can put him out on the edge. He may not offer you a ton of pass rush from the edge, but he'll give you good run stuff. So I think that they're looking for guys that are situational, that they can, come through and play multiples, so which guys can win matchups, right? Oh man, I'm killing this guy over here on the other side. So we're going to keep Wingo in the whole time, or maybe Kaminsky's killing them that night. So they're going to play the matchups with these guys because they're real different.
Right. And they can rotate 8 or 9 guys in on that defensive line in the game. I mean, what a luxury. What a nice problem to have. Who's going to get playing time? But when you got guys that could start on other teams. Before we move on to that, I want to talk more, a couple of these comments to catch up. Darcy says, these Canadians, that's something something a boot. King SJ is in the house. Evening, gentlemen. Jonathan Haight is in the house. Can't wait.
Is he a first-timer?
No, absolutely not. And our good friend Detroit fan man, same question at OT. Who is the likely replacement if Decker or Sewell go down? Well, I think those questions are best left for Russell Wayne because he is an offensive line freak, man. This guy wears Frank Ragnow jerseys. So
that's right. It all comes from the middle, folks. That's where the big men are going to eat. And you know what? I make some pretty bold predictions, and maybe we will pivot a little bit just because we're talking about offensive linemen right here. But this is where you win, folks. I hear a lot of discussion out there about Gibbs and, all these playmakers. What makes it all go around is the big men up front. And that's why you give this man the money. You don't even have a question about it. You got your starting guys are all set right across the front, and you like that. And he's talking about depth right here. What happens if Sewell goes down? Well, what happened last year? Big Dan Skipper steps in. He's your first reserve. Hey, yeah. It is what. And then you brought in the man. The man. I mean, he's got the name man in his name. Giovanni Manu. This is development. 6'8", 350 pounds, and he ran a 4.9.
Put that picture back up.
Manu.
Look at number 21, Aruda Welch. Poor guy. He's getting posterized right there, buddy. He's
Yeah,
being thrown off like a rag doll right there.
You know, one thing about the Tongans they are about that work ethic. Every time I've seen somebody like that, like especially in the wrestling world, the Tongans and the Samoans are dominating the wrestling world, and it's because of their drive and it's because of their work ethic. So even though this guy is raw, there's no doubt in my mind that the offensive line coaches are going to get this guy and they are going to mold this Greek god right here, that this mountain of a man, into somebody that could be, you can't teach 6'8", 350.
You can't teach that. And look at Mooch on your shoulder.
Mooch thinks so too.
So to answer your question, fan man, I agree with you. We are thin at offensive line depth, right? I mean, if your Dan Skipper is your answer, Russ, I'm not comfortable with that. Okay, Christian Mahogany, a round 6 pick, had a couple of issues. If Colby Sorsdahl takes the next step, right? If there's some growth there, but really O-line depth to fan man. Who's a swing tackle? Who's the guy that's spelling them guys?
But that's the thing. It's like we are in a developmental phase, guys. It's like you have 53 men that you can put on a roster, and right now, I mean, I understand where it feels like there's not the depth, but you're expecting like Colby Sorsdahl. That's a great guy to say, right? Maybe the NFL was a little bit fast for him when he first got here, but he got to get thrown into the fire. When they threw him out there, they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, you're starting at right guard. Okay, I can start at right guard. By the way, I know that you haven't practiced at right tackle, but you're going to have to play there. Oh, okay. So he got thrown into the fire.
Right. Still better than Scott Nelson.
But he got better.
Right.
But he got better. That's the thing. They get better.
But you can agree, right, Russ, that the O-line depth is maybe we don't know what Manu is right now. He's been labeled as a project. Brad Holmes even said himself, you probably won't see Manu this year, like you didn't see much of Broderick last year.
Well, Skipper covers either side, and Sewell covers either side. So there's like that's almost like a 2-slot window right there with that. And I trust Skipper. I mean, Skipper to come in and spell, yeah. And this right here, don't say that, oh, that's a 6th-round pick. This guy was slated in some to be a 2nd-round pick, 3rd-round pick. This guy right here is going to be my sleeper pick. He will compete with Glasgow for the starting guard position.
You've actually gone out on a limb and said that already, that you think this kid's he's gonna pass what Colby Sorsdahl did last year. And
I don't think he's going to start, but I think that I don't think he'll start. It's Glasgow. Glasgow's the man, dude. But I think what will happen is there'll be a little heat. There'll be a little heat underneath the Glasgow in training camp. All of a sudden, be like, what the hell, man? These guys are solid. And he's a good depth piece. Just learn behind these greats like Zeitler. Just sit back and learn.
Right. I love it. I love this. I love this comment from Dan Duquesne. Manu's idol is Penei Sewell. I think he's going to watch, listen, and learn. And I love that part of it, Dan. I think that part of it is so cool. They're both, of South Pacific descent, and Penei Sewell is like a super big star to these people, and they love him so much. And for him to be able to take him under his wing because of the high character, again, we keep going back to it, the shift in culture that Brad Holmes has brought. These high character guys that check that box, team captains and people, a leader of men, right? And it's going to be a wonderful year. What else we got? The
offensive line. I just had that up while you were talking about the offensive line right there. And I know how people talk about Taylor Decker, right? And I swear they talk about him like, oh, we better do something about Taylor Decker. He's getting up there. He's 31, guys. He's an offensive lineman. They play until they're 40. I mean, for him to be here for another 3, 4, 5 years is not that big of a deal, and it's not that big of a stretch, and it's not that much of a drop off,
Right.
So. I mean, the offensive line might be really solid. Now, Frank the Tank. I don't know how long you're going to play on, one toe, but he didn't seem to mind the pain last year. Still playing like a G.
Jay Mommy says, I could see the Lions using Manu on short and goal at running back. Who's going to stop him? Right?
I mean, who's going to want to?
Right. It's all right. Look, man. We're going to give it to Goliath on 4th down.
Oh my gosh.
I know we only need 1 point to win, and I could kick the field goal, but no, man, I'm telling you, this is going to be way more fun. Trust me, guys. It takes more.
There is no 4th down. It is an extension of 3rd down. We get one more try. Okay. One more try.
Look, man, 4th down's a myth. Okay. King SJ says Mahogany was a steal in the 6th round, but there's I heard a rumor that one leg was shorter than the other. I don't know if that's some internet BS or whatever, but I don't know if that's true. Chad says, I wonder if Manu has ever played any defensive tackle. I'm still look at you guys. You guys trying to put him all over the field, man. I'm still blown away that Mahogany fell to the 6th. I think Russ had him in late 3rd, early 4th round pick.
I think that Manu could report, right? I think he reported, right? Did he report?
Thanks for the comment, Donkey Kong, but I cannot read that out loud. Frank is only playing 1 more year.
Are you kidding me?
I agree, Jay Mommy. I agree, Jay. I agree, Jay Mommy. Frank, I think if we would have won the Super Bowl, if we would have won the Super Bowl last year, I think Frank would have retired because his injury is inoperable. They cannot fix him. He either has to just play with the pain or quit playing. So I think you're 100% right there. Detroit Fan Man says, so Manu needs time to develop, but in the short term, you can imagine him in the Rory costume. Brother, I've met Rory, like the dude that plays Rory and all that. Manu is like twice of that guy.
I think that he's gonna have to catch up to the NFL speed. But the thing is like there was nothing wrong with the technique. That was the thing that they were talking about. It was like, so he had great technique in Canadian college where he destroyed everybody. But It's not like he's so raw where he's like, oh, football, I'm showing you how. Like, it's not. I mean, he knows how to play football. And he's 6'8", 350 pounds, and he's going to be able to sit here behind Penei Sewell and learn how to play. So my guess is if somebody gets injured and you needed this gigantic athlete to go in there and eat up space, that he'd probably be pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You want to know what my very favorite part of the entire draft was? And it's not just that we're picking good players and stuff nowadays. My favorite part was watching in the war room Sheila jumping up and down, high-fiving and hugging everybody. She was as excited as you can imagine on these draft picks. That gal really loves the game.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. I think my favorite part was when the Lions jumped up in front of the Packers to take Terrion Arnold specifically. That was my favorite.
That was cool.
2 years in a row, they jump up in front of the Packers to take a secondary player. But look what the Packers did to their secondary. They drafted a ton of secondary players. So they're almost like secondary players. Javon Bullard, a highly touted safety. Not to mention to go with free agent Xavier McKinstry. So they did, but you know what? Talent in, talent out. They had a couple nice young players that got away. Darnell Savage, Jonathan Owens. Not world beaters, but solid contributors, players. They weren't weaknesses on the team if you look at the stats. They were good players. So did they get much better is my point. All right. Phew, man, I can't look at that green and gold for too long.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
I mean, where did we go? What did you think of the draft? What did you think of the draft?
I agree with the two, man. They nailed it, man. This guy's playing chess, right? Well, this guy's playing chess. They're all playing checkers, man. Howie Roseman, he's playing chess. These guys know what's up. Hendon Hooker will be a camp, nothing like a hooker in camp that's a darling.
Well, there's been a couple of little things that have been out there, like when Aleem McNeil did his little interview with I can't remember one of the Chris Long, the podcast. He had said that he had caught Hendon Hooker out there with Teddy Bridgewater slinging the ball around and said that he had a real pretty looking ball when he would throw. He's completely healed. And, Jared Goff's a starter. I'm not trying to create any stupid controversy right here. There's no chance that he's going to dethrone Jared Goff as the starter. But there's also the thing where Jared Goff probably won't take a preseason snap. They're going to do exactly what they did last year, and you're going to get to see him. He's going to be out there running around. He's going to be killing that second and third string defenses, man. He's going to be torching them. And everyone's going to be like, ooh, Hendon Hooker looks good, right?
Right. And you know what, Russ, though? It's very possible we're going to get robbed of that because the league is moving away from preseason games at all. Roger Goodell said this week that I'm not a fan of the preseason. I don't think we need it. We also saw last year, Dan Campbell is not a big fan of preseason games. He would rather do the one-on-one scrimmages. He came right out and said, I get more out of this. We make more progress with these one-on-one scrimmage practices against other teams than we do an actual preseason game. Right? So that tells you right there. Roger Goodell, he wants to add 18 games to the schedule. He wants to eliminate the preseason. He wants to make Super Bowl weekend the same weekend as President's Day. So he wants to bump back the Super Bowl so that it's a 3-day weekend. A national holiday would come right after Super Bowl Sunday. President's Day is always on a Monday, folks. So if Super Bowl Sunday was the day before, Tim, you look confused. I'm sorry, man. Am I being clear here?
No,
you don't want.
I'm
you don't want to know.
Super Bowl Sunday.
The commissioner.
Super Bowl Sunday. He wants to bump it back to the day before President's Day in February because that's a Monday, and then you could have a good hangover day on a national holiday. And he wants to justify that and add another game to the schedule, so of course they can make more money. And he wants to eliminate the preseason to slide it through the players because they hate the preseason too.
But
go ahead,
that's
Russ.
not going to happen this year, right?
No, but remember the coaches have a choice. If they want to play 4 preseason games, they can, or they can play like 2 scrimmage games and 2 regular games.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, and that is great information because I can see the league going to that, trying to get the extra game and make the extra.
So my point for the whole thing was Hendon Hooker is not going to get all these preseason snaps that you think. He's going to get a lot of them scrimmage snaps against the Giants or whatever.
Yeah, but there's still my point is I just wanted to be able to do this. They're going to be in the preseason. They're going to be going, yeah. Look at that Hendon Hooker running around all 6'4", 225 pounds, slinging it all around the yard, killing that second and third string defenses. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Fred says Frank Ragnow realized he doesn't need a toe to fish. And as far as the Green Bay goes, bums in, bums out. Sheila's the most competitive forward in the whole family. Look, folks, I got a good hot take for you. Here, I'm going to start my timer. Maybe we can make this a reel. Do you know what Chris Spielman's title is, Tim the Toolman? Do you know what his title is in the organization? His title is Special Assistant to the Owner. Special Assistant to the Owner. So when Sheila Ford says, I'm going to hire this guy, Brad Holmes, because I think he's really good in football. No. And I'm not patronizing her. I'm not saying she doesn't know football, but I'm saying this is the guy she hired to tell me a good suggestion, and I'll make the decision. So I don't think Chris Spielman gets the credit that he deserved, with all due respect to Sheila Ford Hamp, the greatest owner we've seen of this franchise. What do you think about that, Russell?
Well, you were talking to Tim right there. What do you think about that, Tim?
I think Sheila's doing a fantastic job. I feel like I've never seen it in my lifetime. We've never seen the owner get excited like she is. It's like they owned it, but I've never seen her mother and father get excited about it.
Right. Absolutely.
Not really. This girl wants to win so bad. It's like I never see the way she's jumping up and down and high-fiving and hugging everybody in the war room. I'm like, the girl not only owns the team, she loves the game, and that is big.
You're absolutely right, man. The passion is there. And that's what our comments are actually saying the same thing. Chad says she's the most competitive Ford in the whole family. J Mommy says Sheila's the only Lions fan in the Ford family. The others looked at it as being a business. They probably play polo or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, and they said it for a lot of years. They said, why do the previous, her folks, why do they want to change it? We had one of the worst records in the league, but we sold some of the most merchandise. They made a fortune off a losing team. That's
yeah. And ever since the TV revenue sharing went into effect, though, Tim, none of the teams lose money ever now. Those TV contracts, streaming contracts are so huge that the way they have it broke up and everybody gets a share, right? So they're all doing really well in that respect. And to your point, now Sheila gives a shit about winning, though. It isn't a bottom line. It's not about profit now. That is the best part about it all. So I love that. Detroit Fan Man says, heard we possibly brought in the Grand Valley State quarterback to play some fourth quarter preseason games. Hope he does well enough to earn a UFL spot. Ooh, harsh take. Yeah, you show a little bit of training camp. You get a little bit of training camp experience and maybe make a contact or two, and you can maybe catch on with the team, maybe do good enough to get onto a practice squad. But the odds are long, though, right? What do you got to say about that, Russell?
Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath in training camp this year, especially in the DB room. And it's not necessarily like who's going to make it. I think that we know basically who's going to be on and off, but it's like, where is that pecking order? Where's that pecking order? And that I think it's going to be a bloodbath in there. I mean, the competition, it's going to be hard to make this team. Like, if you want to crack the starting lineup as an offensive lineman, good luck. I mean, as a running back, as a wide receiver, good luck.
Love it. Scott Smith says, with Manu, we're really going to smuck them.
Manu.
That's our official word on this podcast show. And J Mommy wanting to open up cans of worms today. What do you guys think about the Lions playing Dallas in the opener? And J Mommy, I got to give you credit on this one because Russ and I talked about this today.
Yeah.
And all I could think of, the Rams, the Niners. It never crossed my mind, but you're 100% right. I'm going to have to agree with you. It's Dallas season 1. I want that. And I want Dan Skipper to report as eligible. I want that week 1. Russ, we never even mentioned this game. We pondered maybe Lambeau opening week.
J Mommy
are we playing it at our house?
No, we got to go to Dallas. We have to go to Dallas, and we're going to go down there and we're going to stomp a mud hole in them.
Well, I said it before, and I'll always stick to it out of our past and everything that's always went on down there. I said last year, before this happened, this game went down. We can never win by 1 point or 1 field goal in Dallas. It won't happen. There's always some kind of rule or flag that happens, and there maybe 3 get thrown for 3 different infractions, but they'll pick all 3 of them back up. And we have to be 2 to 3 possessions ahead of Dallas in any game down there, so that if we are, that takes the officials right out of the equation.
Mm-hmm. And J Mommy's point, that could probably set a record in viewers for opening day. I know that the Chiefs and Lions last year set the record. So Lions in Dallas could be the record. I'm with you on that, man. Elise Meme says, "What up, dudes? Jared Goff. We know you really, but we know you prefer Amon-Ra." Chad says, "What's up with Branch? Is he injured? You skipped my comment." No, I couldn't comment on it. I didn't know about that Branch was seen in a boot. When we're talking about a boot, I'd usually refer to my Canadian friends, but I didn't know about it.
Well, here's what I do know about that. I mean, and I think that you guys will all agree with me. I am so glad to see that he's in a boot in May and not September. Okay, so there's a good chance that whatever this is they're working through it, and it's May, so that's a good thing. There's no reports that I know of that are out there that say that they're thinking that he's in danger of missing any type of time or anything like that. So that's what we know about that.
Right. We don't know. And the Lions have proven themselves in the last few years to be very good at keeping a lid on things when they want to. We don't know about anything until it happens. Right. I could give you many examples, but this is only an hour-long show, how Brad Holmes has surprised us and left our jaws hanging open. So I got one. So I just didn't know about it, Chad. That's why I didn't respond to it. Go ahead, Russ.
There you go. I got it right there. This is a true thing, a true statement. I know that you were going to like this topic.
Right. So we're all just patting each other on the back, circle jerking about how great these Lions are. So if you feel that strongly, people, put your money where your mouth is. Plenty of gaming sites. Always remember to bet responsibly. The odds to win the Super Bowl for the Detroit Lions is plus 1,200. So every $100 that you bet, you win that 100 back plus $1,200. It's very good odds for you. If you believe in this team that much, would you bet $100 to win $1,200 on the Lions to win the Super Bowl? Put it in the comments, and I'll start with you, Tim. Would you do it if you had the money? Remember, folks, never gamble more than you could afford to lose. And Tim the Toolman, if you could afford to lose 100, would you bet 100 on the Lions to win the Super Bowl this year?
Absolutely.
You feel that strongly about this team against the Niners. The Eagles got better. The Packers, the Bears got better.
So did we. And we put a secondary in there now. We have the backfields covered now. Our defense is going to be one of the top 5 in the league. We're going to finish 15-2.
15-2. Wow, that's the best one I've heard so far. Gene Bean says 14-3. But man, I mean, let's face it, every team is just one injury away to their quarterback. And all of a sudden it changes. And you guys think 14. Look, even if we don't win the Super Bowl, Gene, if we go 14-3, guess what? The over-under is 10.5 on the Lions to win 10.5 regular season games. If you really think they're going to win 14, then wouldn't it be easy money? I mean, you got a 4-game cushion there.
Yeah, but you can also, you know how that works. You can go in there and pump it up a little bit and see what the odds are. If it's 1,200, for or whatever that would be for them to, win that many games, right? So it's just the straight up bet. The over is 10.5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can pump it up. What are the odds going to be if it's, if you do bump it up to 14 and hit it,
they go up exponentially when you do that. When you make the spread bigger, they go up. So
can you find that out? Can somebody find that out for me and put it in the comments? That would be really cool.
Gene Bean says 1,900 is the max. So he bet 1,900 on the Lions to go over 10.5.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, guys, if you're that confident, if this is really the Homer Depot, then you need to put your money where your mouth is and put your money on your team, because the odds are out there for you to win if you really think. But, man, it's the reason the odds are good like that is because it's so hard to do that in the NFL. Look at the Packers are also 10.5, the over-under. It's going to be a dogfight between the Packers and the Lions. That's what Vegas is telling us. And that the Bears are going to keep it close at an over-under of 8.5, which, since that number may have gone up since the draft, now they have Caleb Williams. I wouldn't be surprised if that number goes up now. And the Minnesota Vikings at 6.5. And that number I don't expect to move.
Yeah, that's they're right there with those Chicago Bears, man. I mean, one of the questions with them Chicago Bears is, can they get a victory? Can they get a victory over them Green Bay Packers? It's been like 10 in a row. Those Packers can't buy, or those Bears can't buy a win.
Those poor Bears have had the worst luck in the world with picking.
It'd be a better look out, though, guys. I mean, Rome Odunze, what a nice pick at 9, I thought. They could have used help other places, but Keenan Allen's either going to get hurt or retire or be shipped off after this season. He's not a permanent piece there, Keenan Allen. But Rome Odunze, what a great pick I thought that was. And I'm a Caleb believer. I think the kid's it. We watched his tape, his highlight reel, and you see a skill set there that I think looks special. All the between the ears stuff is the stuff you can't predict, right? How flaky is he? Like, I love that Russell Wayne likened him to Ryan Leaf in some respect this morning when we were having a pre-production call. And I was like, wow, well, that's a great comparison, Ryan Leaf. But I do predict that Caleb Williams will be the first NFL quarterback to twerk after he scores a touchdown. What do you got, Russ, on these quarterbacks?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna go as far as like the Ryan Leaf thing, but the thing is like there are 1,800 finely tuned athletes in the NFL, and with the extension of the practice squad, probably another 1,000 that have some kind of association with the team, and all of them can play. Like, I think what people really get the biggest shock is when they go from college to pro. It's like, yeah, you used to be faster than everybody, right? Well, now everybody's kind of really fast, even though you might be a little bit faster and it's still strength. Everybody can ball. Everybody's fast. Everything is faster. And I think that if you're coming in and you're trying to make predictions and you're already the baddest man in the world, you get a lot of these other finely tuned athletes that are like, oh, yeah, really? Yeah, we're pretty freaking good, too. Right. Like,
and I'm waiting for that reason, but I'm talking long term. I believe in Caleb Williams long term. I believe we should, as Lions fans, should be leery that this kid is in our division now. Same thing with Jordan Love. I don't have that leery feeling about J.J. McCarthy because I felt he needed another year. I still think he has a lot of ability, and he could pan out to be the best one of them all. Don't get me wrong. But I'm waiting for that line to move up on the Bears, 8.5. If that line goes to 9.5, the over-under, I'm going to bet the under because of what you said, Russ. Yes, I believe he's going to be good long-term, but I don't think the first year out of the gate, the best quarterbacks only win 6 games their first year, right? Aaron Rodgers, their first year. Right. They don't win. Even Jordan Love, he had an exceptional season, took his team to the playoff this first year as a starter. So it doesn't happen that often. So certainly he could do it, but I think I like the money on the under if that line moves up to 9.5. Let's take a look at the comments before we jump up out of here. Did you have another topic we wanted to get at, Russ, or before we go to the comments?
I mean, we got a ton of topics that we could always get to, but I mean, if you're going to run out of time, I think that we could be good.
Yeah, we're a little bit up against it. Fred says, who didn't get better? The Dallas Cowboys. Those bums did nothing in the postseason but draft Nealon. I know. And I know you wanted the Lions to get Nealon too. Ken says 14 wins and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I think that home field advantage part's the most important part. Go ahead, Russ.
I was just saying, I liked the Nealon, but I mean, like, he was the second round guy,
Right.
But after that, there were other guys,
Hooker may be the best backup in the league. Come on, Chad. He hasn't even taken a snap. I'm not even going to read the rest of that comment. Ken says the Bears will have another bust at quarterback. They haven't had a good quarterback since McMahon. And was McMahon a good quarterback? I don't think so. Eric Kramer, the all-time leading passer for the Bears. Yeah, Chad, James Mitchell is in Florida with those guys. I call that the grapefruit division of the Lions development program. Goff, Amon-Ra, and the rest are in Cali in the cactus division. I love you, man. I'm so glad you're part of our family here at the main event. And if you want to be a part of our family too, head on over to our page. It's called Lions Villain Squad. Give us a follow. We just crossed 50,000 this week. Big thank you to everyone that helped that happen. Kudos to you, Russ, for all the hard work that you did to make it to that milestone of 50,000 followers. It isn't easy, folks, let me tell you, but it takes a little more.
It takes more.
McMahon did win a Super Bowl, Kenny. He won a Super Bowl, but they had arguably the greatest defense in history. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, arguably the second best defense in history. The Pittsburgh Steelers won 4 Super Bowls, arguably the third best defense in history. So, yeah, I get it, but was McMahon any good? Really? Show me some highlights where this guy's Dan Marino or John Elway at the court playing the position. He won the Super Bowl. But, man, I don't think they've ever had a guy like Caleb Williams. I'm sorry. He's not Mitch Trubisky. He's not Jim McMahon. He's not a game manager. He takes it to you. The best attribute, and just go watch a highlight of him. He continually keeps his eyes downfield when the pressure's all around him. He has that peripheral. He has that feel in the pocket to avoid pressure, and that's something you can't coach. And that's why I think Lions fans better be weary of this guy. So thanks, everyone, for being here tonight. For Tim the Toolman Taylor and the Maestro Russell Wayne, I'm Main Event Mike saying God bless each and every one of you. Peace out.